All right, so two main topics of conversation. First topic, let's do this in chronological order. Come on, let's bring it down. First thing we have, of course, is the Premier event happening tomorrow. I am, of course, flying out of here at 8 a.m. tomorrow morning. Hopefully, my plane and everything goes as planned. Looking to get in 2 hours, 3 hours before the Premier event starts, so I can be delayed by like an hour and a half and still get there because it's actually really close to the airport in Madrid. So everything should be fine. Which hero am I going to play? That's a bit of a tricky one. I think it's really like sometimes you do go into sealed events being like, I'm going to play this. I think some of these heroes are so distinct. I don't really know what I'm going to play. I have, and I'll break this down. So I have a few markers that I'm looking for in terms of deciding what heroes I'm going to play. So obviously, the first one is going to be how many dragons do I have? Do I have any bomb dragons? Do I have any, majestic dragons that are really powerful? Those are going to heavily influence the game, I think. And I think if I get one or two of these, or like a couple of these rare dragons, I might consider just going Dromai just to see how the dragons play, just to experience that, report back to you all. Otherwise, there are so outside of dragons, obviously dragon count is a big thing. But the other main indicator, obviously, with Dromai that we're going to be looking for is how many Ash generators do you have? Now, obviously, we have Billowing Mirage. Also, we have some other cards in here as well, because we've got, I don't know, those of you who haven't seen, we got the full release notes today. So we have some other ways of generating Ash as well. So you see we have Billowing Mirage, obviously, which we've already seen, which makes you an Aether Ashwing. We then have Dunebreaker Centipede, which is like a centipede. When it's destroyed, create an Ash token. So that seems like a good card to play as well. Built-in Go Again. And then we have Dust Up as well. Whenever it hits, create an Ash token, then transform one Ash you control into an Aether Ashwing. So I'm also going to be checking out how many of these we have. Now, obviously, Dust Up is a bit tricky because it doesn't, it gives you Go Again because of Dromai, but it doesn't give you an extra Ash, so you can't pay for it. But you're going to play a red Dust Up, so you're going to be looking at how many of these red Go Again cards do I have that are going to turn on my they're going to turn on my Dromai ability, give all my dragons Go Again, and also generate Ash. And the same thing here, less so with the Ember Maul, because the Ember Mauls are 2 for 8. But obviously, if they destroy my 2 for 8, then I get an Ash token. So, I mean, this is going to be all right as well, because it's going to give me some options. Sweeping Blow too. So a lot of what I'm looking for with Dromai, it's not just how many dragons do I have, but I actually think that in a limited and sealed environment, the actual question is going to be how much Ash can I generate and how quickly can I turn that Ash into Aether Ashwings. So if I get quite a few of these Dust Ups, things like that, Sweeping Blows, and then I get Rake the Embers to turn all that stuff into Ashwings, then I'm going to be thinking, okay, maybe Dromai is the solution. Maybe a few Gittering Sands, maybe that kind of thing. If I don't get those options, maybe like Sand Cover Red and Sand Cover Yellow might be a good indicator as well, then I'm probably not going to be feeling like Dromai is the solution. Moving on then, of course, to Fi. I think Fi, again, you kind of want a lot of reds, but I think the main thing that's going to indicate whether you play Fi or not is actually how much built-in Go Again you have. I think much like, we're kind of saying the same thing for Dromai, is that you need this Go Again that generates Ash. But I think you could potentially play Dromai without all of that, as long as you have a decent number of reds and you have a decent number of big dragons. Whereas I think for Fi, really is the question as to how much Go Again do I have, right? Do I have, ignoring the Majestics, right? Because sealed is not defined by Majestics. It's very important. Do I have things like Engulfing Flameweave? Because I'm going to fill my deck full of attack actions, right? Do I have Rise from the Ashes to get a decent boost and get my Phoenix Flame back? Rise from the Ashes is a very important card for Fi. So I think if you start to see like 2-3 of these, even if they're yellows, you might think, oh, I'm going to get those. And then really you're just looking for easily enabled draconic attack actions that have Go Again. And there's quite a few of them. Brand with Single Claw makes your next attack draconic. That could be quite nice. Sinless Skin Devotion. a Draconic Chain Link you control. If you control 2 or more Draconic Chain Links, to get Go Again. Dust Runner Outlaws, just a 1 for 4 with Go Again. Rebellious Rush is a 2 for 5 with Go Again. I want to say like 2 for 5, I'm talking about reds, so I'm always talking about reds. The blues are obviously suboptimal, but you might run them if you needed to flesh out the blue numbers. But a lot of what you're playing in a limited environment is determined by the good reds that you got, as well as the synergies you get. Right, so then we're looking at cards like that, right? If you get enough Go Again with Fi, enough red Go Again, I think you play Fi regardless, right? But also that, let's not forget, there are like, so I mean, if you open a certain number of Draconic hits, you're obviously going to play Fi or Dromai. If you get an Uprising, you're probably going to go Draconic, right? But also, I think if you get Red Hot or Rise Up, you're probably going to start being pushed towards Draconic anyway. So the first thing I'm going to do when I sit down, and we're talking through the cards, is simply just sit down and count how many Draconic have I got? How many Ice have I got? And once I've done that, I'm going to figure out pretty quickly whether I'm playing Icelander or one of the Draconic heroes. Because if I have a massive stack of Draconic cards, I'm probably going to play that. After that, I'm going to sit down and I'm probably going to divide my Draconic cards into things that I think are good with... Well, I'm going to divide my cards into, obviously, Illusionist and Ninja. Try and see if I have any synergies there in terms of what we've talked about already. Once I've done that, I'm going to look at the Draconic cards and see where the synergies are there, because a lot of these cards will synergize with both of them, but I do feel like things like Flameborn Retribution, things like Flamecall Awakening, all of these synergize a lot better with Fi than they do with Dromai. But I will say that my initial impression is that you're going to be playing a package of these regardless of which Draconic hero you take, and you're just going to try and get to the higher chain links just to enable those. Because remember that Phoenix Flame does work with Dromai as well, and if you get enough Flameborn Retributions, Flamecall Awakenings, you might just find that Dromai is, and combined with some other exciting Ash stuff, you might just find that Dromai is the better solution. I mean, if you get a couple of the red Go Again attacks that we talked about in Dromai up here, the Billowing Sands and the other ones that are here, because they're not in the card gallery yet, you might find that actually those combo perfectly well with these cards. So don't think that just because it says Rupture 4 or it says Phoenix that it has to be Fi. It's actually going to work very, very nicely if you get to Rupture and Dromai as well. For the ice cards, primarily what I'm looking for is red damage. I'm looking for red damage, and I'm looking for ways to generate Frostbite. There's really not a lot spoiled, is there? Let's scroll down. So, obviously I could get some of these Majestics, probably not going to happen. But, if I'm looking at things like deal 5 arcane damage, if it fuses, it deals 5 plus the number of Frostbites, right? I'm looking for stuff like that. I'm looking for, stuff that just says make 5 Frostbite tokens for them and deal some arcane damage. Ice Eternal's really good. But even like moving just out of the like rarer cards, if I'm just getting stuff that prevent, like, that deals 3 to 4 arcane damage, or is a blue that deals 3 to 4 arcane damage, there is Quell in the set, but there's not a lot of arcane damage. So the first thing I'm going to do is genuinely just sit down and count how much arcane damage do I actually have. Do I have 20, 30 arcane damage? Once I know how much that is going to decide whether or not I think it's viable to play whether it's viable to play Icelander. And then if I start to see some nice control cards in there mixed in, I might think actually I could play Icelander. I mean, you are likely to get a Majestic in your 3 packs. Like, you might not. Some people get 2, some people get 1. It is a bit random, but like, it is just worth sort of keeping that in mind. And I think, there are lots of cards in here, like Frightmare and stuff like that are just going to be good into Transmogrify, that are going to be good into anyone, really. So I think you're kind of going to be guided by the class pool first. But I do think it is worth just doing that thing where you separate things into Ice and Draconic. Anyway, that's that segment. So I'm really wide open. I obviously have heroes that I think look very interesting. I'm definitely more keen on Fi, Dromai, and then Icelander in that order. But I don't really have a problem when it comes to, playing anyone. Just going to kind of go with what's there. I've played Wizards before. I think I can play that just going to be guided by what feels good. Everyone is coming out. This is a new set, so not to be intimidated by having to play something you've never played before, not to be intimidated if things don't go well. Mostly there to have fun, have a chilled day, because obviously I'm getting up at 5:30 in the morning, so it's not going to be great either way, but hopefully I'll be chill. And by the time I get home, by the time I finish the event, I'm going to have had a good day, get some food, rest up. It's like 33 degrees, so take it easy, cool off. And then, be ready for the Team Blitz tomorrow. So moving on to the Team Blitz then. I think I'm taking a few decks, so I'm not entirely set on what I'm playing. Let's get that out of the way. Though I have a feeling I'm playing Oldhim, because I think Oldhim is just a really solid deck. I have a fair bit of experience playing Oldhim and Blitz, so not in a while. I haven't really had a super amount of time to prep for this event, so I haven't really been practicing all that much, so I need to play a deck that I've played before that has some consistency. I'm also taking a Chain deck. I'm also taking a Rhinar deck. Kind of going to see what my team wants to do on the day, make sure we've got a few options in case someone decides they want to pivot, making sure I'm bringing other cards. I expect to see a lot of Oldhim in the meta. I expect to see a lot of Kasai because she's a favorite, a lot of Chain because people still like him. I expect to see actually a very, very mixed field. I expect to see a lot of Rhinar. I think there's going to be a lot of things like Briar and stuff like that as well. We might even see a few like very aggro prisms and stuff like that. Blitz feels very much like it's a wide open field now that Viserai's gone. There are still like better decks, and Gatehem actually, let's call him Gatehem. Gatehem actually gatekeeps a lot of heroes out of the environment just by how good he is at blocking. So maybe when he gets Living Legend, and I don't think he's that far away, we might actually see a bit of a change. Let's just look that up. Where is the Living Legend? I think Oldhim and Blitz is actually not that far away. So I think when Oldhim gets Living Legend, it actually gets... Yeah, he's 336. So if he wins this calling, he'd be on 466. So he'd be only 30 points away. So Oldhim is very close to Living Legend in Blitz. And when he gets there, I think it opens up the format quite a lot to more interesting aggro decks to come back. So, he could be in Blitz for not much longer. So I want to get a good tournament in with him as well. So that would be my reason for playing Oldhim. If I decide to change, I may decide to change. I'm being completely open with you guys. Because I haven't practiced that much, it also means I have the freedom to pivot up until the last moment. I do think Oldhim is probably one of the best decks, but I know that Kasai and Chain are quite good into him. So, I wouldn't be surprised to see if Oldhim start losing occasionally. But I think I could be quite comfortable playing Oldhim, or I'll play one of the other three decks that I'm taking based on what I think feels good on the day and what I'm hearing about people, sort of the whispers on the street. So that's my approach to that. My approach to CC on Sunday, hopefully, is not to play in it. I would love just to make day 2 in the calling and not have to worry about playing the Battle Hardened. And to be fair, I think that will happen. I'm feeling pretty confident about our chances. With, I'm playing on a team with a guy called Aaron Boyan and a guy called David Dyson, both good players, both on the top of the UK leaderboards. We should put in a good showing for the UK while we're over there. So, I'm fairly confident that, it's going to be a good day, and I'm fairly confident that we have a good chance of making day 2. So, here's a bit of optimism saying, okay, maybe we can make day 2. So we're gonna go at it with that attitude. I am still gonna bring a CC deck. I'm probably just gonna bring Starvo. I don't really see the point in bringing anything else in this meta. He is clearly the best deck. Maybe I'll bring my Prism deck as well, but I think Starvo is definitely a solid choice. So that's kind of how I'm feeling about that. I'm not really super committed to playing in that event. So we've kind of reached the end of those 3 main segments. We're going to do just a bit of talking about other stuff. Just going to take a reminder, of course, if you have not subscribed to my channel, it means so much to me when people subscribe. It's not just about how I feel about it as well. It does reflect how LSS looks at me. The growth of the channel does reflect how much I get offered opportunities to do casting, how much they give me previews for every season, that kind of thing. It is all kind of reflected by the size of your channel, unfortunately. It is a channel measuring contest, though the the content obviously matters as well, and the energy you bring matters as well too. So, just hit the like and subscribe button if you like this channel. Also, as a reminder, of course, for everyone, I do have a Patreon. We are currently doing a giveaway of Heralds of Rebirth to Patreon. Everyone who has subscribed at the end of June at different tiers of Patreon will be eligible to win 1, 2, 3 Herald of Rebirth, depending on your tier level. Currently, I say eligible to win. Currently, everyone who is a Patreon is getting an equivalent amount of Heralds of Rebirth, probably even more than that, and I have been running some competitions to give them away as well. There is another competition coming up soon, which I will be announcing, so anyone who's watching the video and has stayed this long can get a preview of what the competition will be. You saw for my preview, I photoshopped in some bears to my card. I am also giving this card away to the person who can give the best Photoshop of this card to me, but don't take this as the competition entry. I will be announcing probably in a week or two how you can enter this competition and also where to submit entries and all that kind of stuff. But I'm just announcing that as a competition for all of you, because I know that there people were quite enjoying of that. And I did say that if my preview came and it wasn't a cold foil or a legendary, because I mean I've got some standards, right? I can't just give away a free legendary if I get one. But this is a Rainbow Foil Majestic, and it is gorgeous. But I will get another one when I open my boxes, so I don't mind giving this one away as a bit of a special giveaway to people who haven't had a preview card. You can say, well, I've got a preview card now, and I'll even give you the envelope that LSS sent it to me in, so you can share in that preview experience with me. So we're not doing that yet, but that is coming up. In the meantime, the only other thing I really want to address is just, I'm really positive about Uprising. It looks like a fantastic set. The design is really, really good. I'm really positive about where the game is right now. I feel that the retiring of two of those big heroes who are, who were very, very oppressive in the meta, especially Stavro, and Chain has been very good for a while. I feel like those people... I feel like those heroes going away is just, really good for the game, and I'm kind of really happy that it's happening. So I'm really keen on the game. There are, however, still some things that LSS do actually need to address. I can't get this to center on the screen. I need to zoom in more, guys. I need to zoom in more. For God's sakes. There we go. No, my head is covering it. Let's just move me. I'm the problem here, clearly. I'm at max zoom. Well, I am here. I am qualified for the Pro Tour. Thank you very much. I did win a Pro Quest, so I was easily guaranteed to be qualified. But that is what we're going to talk about today, just very briefly. Because one of the things I think, quality control is very, very important at companies, not on everything, right? But quality control is kind of what we need to dedicate the last sort of 5 minutes of our stream to, unfortunately. LSS are at the point as a company where they are growing. Their product is growing. Their cadence isn't growing because they've always said they'll do 3 sets a year, but they do have to play a certain amount of catch up. So there is elements of they need to expand the amount of people they employ in order to do the job that they do. And quality control is an element of that. I told you guys what I do before. I'm an analyst, so I work in quite a quality controlled environment. But you kind of have to be on top of this, especially in cards as well. This hasn't majorly been a problem in the text of cards, but the flavor text for a lot of what we've seen has not been proofread properly, right? And that's something to say, right? I haven't got all of the examples right here, but we're scrolling through, and there have been quite a few cases where people have pointed out that I pointed out one already where it says the Phoenix. There's one already I've seen where the flavor text has just not been proofread properly. The rebellion has ignited this warring nation as the Phoenix spread its wings wings once more, right? And there's I think I've seen about 4 or 5 different examples, and card game players are pedantic. They really are. They're pedantic, right? And they will draw attention to these kind of things, and they will focus on it. It is just something that really can't make it into print. And I know it does every now and then, but it's just something that can't make it into print. And I think that's just important takeaway. I think LSS will see the feedback. It's not it's not a game breaking problem by any means, and that's why it's at the end of this. It's not the headline discussion. It's just something that worries me and has worried a few other people, is that the quality control on the proofreading of this hasn't been great, and there's been a few examples of just typos and things like that in the text of these cards, which is not great. And they have been in the actual cards as well, which is the real problem, right? Because if they were just in the online versions, it would be fine. But they are in the cards as well. So it's just something to be aware of. And the reason I bring this up today as well, because it is kind of relevant today of all days, because the article yesterday went live for the ProQuest in Lille. And, the second it went live, I was on a video call because we were playing League of Legends, a group of us UK Fab players. And the first thing someone said is, wait, why aren't I in the top 100? Where's my XP gone? Because that person had been playing games for the past week, and they didn't seem to have any of the XP that they had gained since the 1st of June. And then they checked their account, and all the XP from the tournaments from the 1st of June through to yesterday were still pending and hadn't been added. But they just put out the announcement of the article that said, hey, these people are qualified for the Pro Tour, but this hasn't been updated, right? It's actually a pretty big problem, okay? Because you've just told people on this list who haven't qualified for the Pro Tour based on experience that they have qualified for the Pro Tour based on experience. If I saw that and I was like, that's amazing, I would go and book flights straight away. I'd be like, wow, I didn't think I was going to make it. I made the Pro Tour. I would start talking to my family. I would start making plans. I would start getting ready to go. If someone then turned around 6 hours later or the next day and said, actually, you're not qualified, I'd be like, I've already booked flights. I'm already coming. I've already took time off work. Like, what do you want me to do, right? And LSS is actually in a really serious pickle when that happens, right? So this is the sort of thing that does need to be quality controlled. This is also the sort of thing which I don't think anyone does again, right? I don't think anyone will put out a list like this again without going into, where everything is, checking that everyone has had XP updated. This probably hasn't happened before. They probably weren't aware that Gem hadn't processed XP properly, and people weren't flagging it to them, because I think a lot of people just assumed they had paused it to allow them to calculate the XP from the 6th rather than just automatically updating it every time. So I think there's two things that go here. The first is that players need to, I guess, have a way or a pathway of submitting feedback on stuff like this. It's coming up to the 6th of June. I'm nervous about the fact that I haven't got this XP added. Can I get that now? Just more pathways to people, seeing there's a problem, flagging there's a problem. Because, the first thing I did when I saw this was I got evidence from one of the players of events that hadn't gone through, because you should always verify these sort of claims. You should never actually just, say, oh, someone told me a rumor. You need to make sure it's true. Then I tweeted LSS directly and said, hey, this is a problem. And then I emailed my contact at LSS directly as well, saying, I've spotted this. I think it's a really big deal. Now, I will say that if I was LSS and someone flagged that, I would get someone to check it very quickly. I would take that article down, and then I would put up a placeholder and say something in the meantime. They didn't do that. They left it for like 4 or 5 hours, and then they issued a statement. And their resolution, I will say, was quite good. So, because they really have a problem here that they've told people they're invited to qualify for the Pro Tour when they aren't, and they don't necessarily want to make the Pro Tour bigger, because then it loses its exclusivity. But the only solution really they had, 2 solutions. Anyone who had booked travel based on that announcement could have got a free ticket to the calling. It's not perfect, but you give them a free Fabled package for the calling. That's about $150. You say very, very sorry, and you kind of just deal with it. You keep your Pro Tour exclusive. But to be honest, I think for this year, this is probably the last year that we use ELO, or we use XP instead of ELO. There's nothing really wrong with saying the 9 or 10 people, I think it was 10 or maybe 12, who were close enough to be considered in 5 days earlier, actually just get invited as well. And they've just invited an extra 10 people to the Pro Tour. It's not a huge big deal. You know, they can handle an extra 10 people fairly easily. And that really just smooths over the feathers of anyone who thought they were invited and isn't. They now get to go if they want to. And I think that's really just, I think that's the best solution. I think saying, no, but you can still come to the calling isn't the best solution. I think saying, we said you were in the Pro Tour, we'll be more careful next time, and, you know, you get to go to the Pro Tour. I will say that, like, when this sort of thing happens, I think that LSS do need to address it more openly. I think there does need to be not just a, this went wrong, we fixed it. I think there does need to be a, there was a software problem, this is how it's not going to happen again in the future. There does need to be a bit more of an explanation of why things have gone wrong, steps that they're taking to fix them, that kind of thing, because that sort of communication builds trust. A lot of people were saying, I'm worried about my grind for the next one, though the next one is not going to be using XP, I don't imagine, unless it happens in, say, Taiwan this year, maybe this autumn. But they're saying, I'm going to grind for the next one, but I'm worried that this is going to happen again. And I will say to that, like, don't be worried that it's going to happen again, because LSS is always going to fix this as quickly as they can. If it happens again, the same thing will just happen again. More people will get invited to the Pro Tour. But if it happens again, it is a worry, because they're not telling us what went wrong and telling us how they're working to address it, which I think is a big part of communication. The only other thing I will address, because I just want to address this, is just, like, we had a very negative moment as a community yesterday. This is the last thing I'll talk about before I wrap it up, because I've got a lot of decks to build. I've got all of my decks in front of me. You know, boxes and boxes. You know, that's a Bravo deck. Books is still here, just living his best life. Feed him twice a day. So Open Boosters got a box to open, right? And he opens a lot of boxes. He kind of just treated it as he did every box. I don't think he realized that he was the first box ever opened worldwide. I think that's a pretty big deal, because a lot of people hadn't seen, and there's still commons missing from the card gallery. So a lot of people hadn't seen a lot of commons, staples. There were legendaries that people hadn't seen. And he, you know, doesn't play the game as much as everyone else. So he was talking through the video about how he was thinking about building an Icelander deck. So I hope he does. But because he doesn't play the game and he hasn't done the research on the set, he was just treating it like any other box opening. Like, I've got this, I'm going to show it off to my 89,000 fans. They're going to see, oh, that game looks cool. Let's maybe, what is it? Ask questions, maybe take a look. And LSS are going to get a lot of publicity very, very cheaply, because a box for LSS does not cost $195, $75 to make. It costs a lot less. If they give one away for free to a Magic channel who has opened boxes for Flesh and Blood before with 90,000 views, that is very, very cheap publicity. Very, very good for them to do, right? So they're thinking, give him this box, he'll open it, that's fine. The Fab community, however, mostly because this was the first box that was opened, was frustrated for a few different reasons. They were frustrated because he was going very, very fast. He was also going very, very fast through the commons, and we hadn't seen a lot of these commons, and they are staples for limited, obviously. So seeing them is actually very, very important for people who want to be as prepared as possible for this weekend. Though I do know some people are going in blind, and that's fine for them as well. So he did that. He went very, very fast through the commons, very, very fast through some of the cards. His camera quality wasn't great. I think probably just wasn't configured properly, because it's usually all right. And because of the speed he was going at, the cards were quite blurred. And then also because he's not as familiar with the series, the game, and he's not familiar with what's happening in the special cards, he didn't realize that these all have backs and that he could show the art on both sides. He pulled a Marvel dragon and didn't flip it over, which is all fairly small stuff. I mean, the art is the same, guys, so it's not like, you didn't see the art on the front, so you didn't see the art on the back. But I mean, I understand the hype of wanting to see both, right? And then the thing that really bothered people is that he got more excited for a cracked bauble than a fable. But I will say to that, like, cracked bauble is a meme. I get excited when I open a cracked bauble. If you don't know what the game is, the fable just looks like a really nice shiny card. He did put it to the side. He thought it was nice. But you don't really appreciate how rare one is until you've actually sat down and done the research. And it's not, I wouldn't say it's intuitive to understand that there would be a 1 in 40 box card in a game. So I wouldn't say you'd see it and you'd think, oh, this is super rare. So, you know, it's gorgeous, but it's not something that requires, like, you know, cooing over or awing over or anything like that. So I think his responses were perfectly reasonable. I think the level of community ire about it was, I'll say, just a bit too far, right? Everyone got a bit worked up. Everyone was really excited to see the first box being opened, and we were rewarded 3 or 4 hours later with a much, we'll say, you know, slower stream by Fab Unsealed, who obviously has been following the set, all the different cards, has a much better idea of, you know, the hits and things like that. You know, and that was a very good and rewarding stream. So, you know, we got that in the end anyway. You know, so I don't think you know, if he had gone second, I think it would have been a lot more chill, and people would have been a lot more excited to see the hits and how good a box he got, rather than focusing on the negatives, like, oh, he didn't flip the dragons and things like that. So, you know, I think there are a few things, because he's issued an apology video, which I appreciate very much. You know, he said I should have slowed down, I should have flipped the cards, I should have done a live stream. He could have done all of those things for sure, and I think it would have had a better quality stream. I think this is a kind of like I think it's a bit of a notice for LSS, probably, that if they're giving these boxes to people who aren't Fab people, they should come with some guidelines, as in, you know, some pictures. These are the hits in the set. Like, this is what a Fabled looks like. This is what the Marvels look like. If you get one of these, please show it off a lot. Tell them if they're opening a box on the first day or the first week. You know, people will want to see commons. Please tell them show them off the commons, and stuff like that. I don't think the camera quality or anything like that is a big deal. I think if he had been given a bit more, you know, direction in terms of show off the Marvels, show off the Fables, you know, slow down through the commons so people can see them, that kind of thing. If he'd just been given a little bit more direction, which as a non-Fab, like non-deep Fab player, he probably needed, I feel like the stream would have gone a lot better. So, you know, he's got learnings from that, but he also posted an apology video and acknowledged those learnings. He said he was going to give the box to another content creator who, you know, who would appreciate it more. He shouldn't do that. He should keep it for himself. He should appreciate the box. He should appreciate the cards. They're absolutely gorgeous. He really should enjoy that, you know, just completely. So I don't think that is the solution either. I think he should 100% just enjoy the cards. And I think it's a message just for the Fab community to just calm down a little bit with all this stuff. Like, there are very few things that are happening in the game at the moment that can't, you know, what am I saying? That can't just be rectified, right? Or won't be fixed after a bit, or the next day, or in a day or two, or anything like that. You know, if the box opening isn't great, the next one will be. If things aren't great, it can be fixed. There are things to complain about that are permanent endemic problems, and I've complained about plenty of them in the past, like XP grinds for qualifications for Pro Tours, you know, that kind of thing. But this isn't one of them, and I think it's just important to acknowledge that. Anyway, on that note, you know, we can be more positive. We can be better to each other. I know I can do it as well. We can all be really good to each other. If you are anywhere near Madrid this weekend, do come and say hi. I'll be wearing my usual t-shirt with Steelfur written on the back. Come and say hi. It'll be great to meet you all. If you're still listening, you do owe me a like and subscribe, because that is how it works. If you listen to a full episode and you are not subscribed to my videos, you have to hit that subscribe button, because that is just the deal we've got, guys. So, you know, you need to get on that train, right? Okay, cool. I will see you all in Madrid, or sooner or later. Have a great day.